You'll see the recording at the top of the screen there. Okay. Well, hello and welcome to EOS Dublin, the Ignition podcast. Today, you're with me, Gillian Goss. Today, I've got a very interesting subject who is a self-professed non-EOS expert. So we're going to get lots of information from this amazing woman about lots of different things, and then to get a take from an external or an outsider person on what the EOS community and network is doing. So, Erica Stanford, thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast.
Sure, thank you.
Now, so you're the founder, this is going to be a very interesting conversation. You're the founder of Crypto Curry Club, co-founder of cryptocurrencies Simplify.com, and author rated as well. But let's start off with the first one, the Crypto Curry Club. What is that?
The Crypto Curry Club is the best curry club, or the best crypto curry club probably in the world. No, it's a networking thing over curry lunch. I started it in October last year, purely because I live in central London and I'd been to probably all of the different tech and crypto and blockchain networking events. And I had a bit of a hissy fit on the way home one night after the last one I went to, because I frankly, I just find them all terribly boring. You get talked at, and most of the people speaking at them are just paying to be there and not trying to sell you something, or followed around by ICO advisor types or people trying to get you to invest in their projects. And I suppose naturally I'm not the world's most outgoing person at these events. If there's a talk, I would tend to, unless I know people, in which case I'll happily talk to them. Otherwise, if it's talk, I'd probably just sit down and then pretend to listen whilst everyone else is playing with their phones as well, and then leave afterwards. So I wouldn't really have it in me to go and talk to complete strangers. So you often leave without really meeting new people. So I just thought I could do better, and I'd been to a networking thing once where everyone sat around and ate curry together, and it was a lot of fun. So
I love it. How come curry? I mean, why not like pasta, Well,
because crypto curry sounds really good.
That's true, the alliteration. And when you have a curry, do people order their own curries, or is it all kormas? Is it all madras or
No. So until now, we've been having it, and we've had a few very nice curry restaurants at various different Michelin-starred and other very good curry restaurants in London and other cities. So no, I do it so that there's big plates of food brought in, and everyone can share from the center of the table. So starters and various different types of curry and veggie curries and all sorts of curries that everyone can just share. And the whole point is that I choose who gets to come. It's all invite only at the London one. So there's no ICO advisor or sort of salespeople type there allowed there. And I often, people email me and message me every day asking if they can come, and I often get asked if they're allowed to pitch their project, and the answer is a flat no. So it's more about just getting interesting people around a table together, and then just to talk and get to know each other and eat curry together, and everyone gets like a minute or so to introduce themselves, and there's a short speech, and I make sure it's someone I know who's already always fun. But no, it's just about, if you're sat around a big table together sharing food, everyone's more relaxed. People know they're not going to get sold to or pitched at, so everyone's just got their guards down and just a lot more happy to talk and share and have fun. And people end up staying all afternoon pretty much and drinking and talking after, so it works quite well. It's quite fun.
And is it like Chatham House rules? What stays at the curry house, what says stays there? People don't repeat stuff afterwards?
To a degree, people have. I mean, there's already projects happening from people who have met at the curry, and there is a WhatsApp group which is only for people who've already been to the curries.
Wow.
And there's a lot of fun happens in the WhatsApp group.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so tell me, so that you don't have ICO advisors or people who are selling stuff. So give me an idea of the profile of the people in the Crypto Curry Club.
We've got some really cool people coming. We've got some billionaires there. We've got some 8-figure investors. We've got founders and presidents of blockchain platforms. We've got people working in companies related to crypto and blockchain. We've got some people who are chairman or high up execs in sort of senior leadership in other companies or industries that are looking at blockchain. So people who are high up in large companies, or from the film industry, or from cybersecurity, for example, where you've got these large companies that they're aware that they've got to look at this blockchain thing and they don't understand it, and they come along and get it explained to them in simple English and just get some ideas of how they could or might be using blockchain within their companies. So it's a total mix of people, some investors, some services, some lawyers, solicitors, working in the blockchain space. So yeah, really, really interesting people all working on different projects. And it's the mix seems to work well. There's a few techies, a few developers, some pure technologists, some pure from the business side, some pure geeks, some people who are just really interested in it. So a total mix of people, but it's a lot of fun.
Wow. And I understand you're also going to have a women's curry club as well, or certainly women's lunch.
Yes, yeah. Well, the women's one came about because a friend of mine wanted to invite somebody from Forbes along who would write about our lovely curry club, and that he made the point that he couldn't possibly bring anyone along when it was 90+% of attendees were men, and he said that wasn't good enough diversity, which was a valid point, seeing as we have, there's a max of 30 people come, and I'm one of the females, so it's true it wasn't very diverse. Just because I then, after that I went through my LinkedIn contacts and found out that 95% of all my connections in tech were men, and pretty much everyone I know in the space is a guy. So I started the women's one. I just thought initially it would be really cool not to keep doing women's only one, but to diversify the gene pool, to have more of a mix at the main ones. More women in the space, and it's true. I mean, if you do go to other networking events, which I try not to bother anymore purely because I don't have to, because everyone comes to the curries instead, which works out great. But it's really true. If you're a woman going to them, it's 95% usually men, and it's maybe not the world's most inviting environment if you don't know anyone there. And I mean, I get it at every networking event. I'm blonde and I suppose young enough and female, so there's always one guy who just ignores you and looks at you like you're stupid, and then looks genuinely amazed when you say something intelligent. Or they end up saying, that's really interesting what you're working on, and then get your number and then proceed to send you some very lewd messages about what they'd like to do. There's always one. So
what is that about men? What is it about men on the hunt? And like those pictures. I'm sorry.
Right. And I've had that from guys I've met at tech networking events, from people I've been introduced to by friends at them. But then, I mean, that's not exclusive to me. I was chatting to a guy I know fairly well, and he's got a daughter. I think he said she's 26, I believe, and he takes his daughter and a friend of hers along to a networking event about blockchain, and turns out after the event that the daughter and the friend were complaining because even friends of his, he said, had been hitting on the daughter, trying to get their numbers, and it's just standard, but it does get very boring. So no, I just thought if we have a women's only one, it'd be really cool to meet other women in the space, because there's really not that many, and maybe a more relaxed environment. And then I guess my goal with it is to just diversify the gene pool of the main curries, to be perfectly honest. And it's incredible. I mean, it's just been incredible. Like the normal curries now sell out within hours, literally, and I have a waiting list of like 4 times as many people wanting to come in as there are spaces.
That's amazing.
It totally is. And the women's one, I've had that live for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, and there's still, I think, 5 spaces left. So it's just so much harder to find a room full of women.
Is this the first one you're running, the women's one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that'll be interesting. And what type of profile of the women will be there, do you think? Is it a mixture of ages? Is it mostly young? Is it devs?
No, it seems to be a mixture of ages, and mix of people doing different things. So some are working in blockchain companies. Interesting. It seems to be more, maybe slightly younger than average, and more employees on average. But then we've also got, there's a couple of women coming who are our students. They're doing like an MBA one's doing an MBA in something related to blockchain or so, which is really exciting. There's a couple who are leading these in the space, one investor. So yeah, some really, really interesting people coming along.
I mean, I've been to some of the women in blockchain events in Dublin, and I'm also a big advocate of women in blockchain in general, because the sausage fest is, blockchain is way too important to leave to men alone. That's kind of my line on it. But actually, there's two young girls who've organized this Women in Technology, Women in Blockchain meetup in Dublin. One's Brazilian and one is Japanese, I think. Both students. Isn't that mad? And they're very good. They're great. They're very enthusiastic. Anyway, so that's the Crypto Curry Club. So it's invite only, lunch in a nice restaurant. So it's not stains on the tablecloths or anything like that. Actually, when I first moved to London, because I worked for JP Morgan back in '87, and in Ireland we didn't really have too many curry houses. We didn't have the same, like the Aldwych area, the sort of, the whole, it just wasn't, it was Chinese in Ireland if you had a takeaway as opposed to curry. I remember being out with my friends, and we'd go because pubs would close in the city anyway at like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and they'd go to a curry house. Because it'd been a very English thing to do, and I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And although my Irish friends would say eats is cheats, but anyway, I'm a young person at this stage, and it was so funny that I remember my brother came over with his girlfriend, and I said, oh, let's go and have lunch. Went to one of the same curry houses, and of course, when you go there at 9 o'clock at night with several pints on, you don't really look at the decor, and then you go at lunchtime, I'm going, there's quite a few stains still on this tablecloth. I don't remember it being so grubby.
No, we've had good curries, and actually we've been really really lucky. So as of next month, I've got a friend who owns a brewery it's just in South London, and it's German craft brewery, and they literally do the best beer that I don't drink, but they do the best beer that I've ever tried, and I'm half German, so I've had my share of German beers. It's incredible. And they're building this glass sort of house thing in their garden there. We'll have that venue entirely to ourselves, and get in a private chef and get privately made curry brought in. So that will be a really fun afternoon venue. And there's also a law firm who have got the most incredible office. Well, it's not even office, it's a sort of a venue space with a private terrace overlooking the Thames and Tower Bridge in the city, and it's just the most gorgeous view I've seen in London. And they're letting us use that space as well to host the events and get food catered in. So we've got two even better venues coming up as of February, which I'm very excited by.
That is a lot of fun. So it's Crypto Curry Club, so people can Google it and they can message you and see if they can get on the list, basically.
Yes, indeed,
yes. So the other thing you do too is the cryptocurrency simplified.com. Tell me about that.
Well, that started as, again, there's a theme here, but it started as I got into crypto a couple of years ago. And a friend told me about it. I heard about it, started researching, and just got totally obsessed, to be honest. I was just spending for months on end, just sort of 12, 16 hours a day, just at a laptop reading everything I could about crypto and blockchain and decentralization and the whole libertarian movement, and just reading everything I could get my hands on. It was like a whole new world had opened. So, and I got introduced to a sort of a mutual friend who'd, I think by that stage, already made 8 figures or so in crypto investing. He'd done fairly well. He'd been sort of trading and investing in various things for about 20 years before then. So he knew his stuff, and we got introduced, and he was traveling in East Europe at the time. So I somewhat impulsively, after calling the guy up a couple of times to pick his brains, booked a flight out to Bulgaria, where he was at the time, and spent about 3 days just picking his brains, which he was very gracious to help me out and share down his years of knowledge onto me. And then we became friends. I got back, and I think people sort of fairly quickly knew that both me and him were both investing and reading about crypto and so forth, and doing okay. And we started, this was, I guess, at the start of 2017. So as people were starting to hear and become excited by the whole crypto hype. So we were getting people every day just asking, what is this Bitcoin thing? Or how do I buy Bitcoin? Will you buy me a Bitcoin? How do I set up this? Or just asking loads of information about it. And it quickly got boring, giving the same instructions to everyone over the phone. So between us, we both sort of started writing email instructions, which we just saved and shared between us to just send out to the friends and hedge funds and people that were inevitably calling us every day, wanting information about how to get involved. So we had these just emails of, this is how you buy Bitcoin, this is how you send Bitcoin, this is how you set up a MyEther wallet and whatever. And then we just thought, well, there's no real information out there. We just thought we'll put the information on a website and then direct people to that instead. So it was initially designed as a time-saving exercise, and then it became more than that. I think the website got bigger, and we hired a few freelancers to help with content and so forth, and getting that built. So it's been a sort of a side project for a while, just getting information onto that and for people how to get involved. And so it's been a side project. It's been working on that for a while. It's never monetized itself or anything, but at least it's all paid to direct people instead of having to give them the information. And who knows, I think the hype eventually at some point will come back.
Oh, I think so too as well. I think the interest, I think it'll be less hype and more genuine, sustained interest from people who aren't necessarily just traders or looking to the FOMO bit, So that's pretty cool. And then,
and I mean, I think the majority of projects will die before then. But I think the greed and the hype will come back, and there's still value to be had for a number of the projects. So we'll see where that goes.
And then another project you're involved in is Authorated. Tell me about that.
Well, that's the main project that we've been working on for a while. So it's paper content platform with partnership with a guy who was the commercial director at the largest publishing group in the UK, and there's 4 other people involved who are also from the publishing, sort of fairly senior from the publishing side. And the gist is, at least in the UK, but it's a worldwide problem, you've got newspapers are pretty much on their last legs. They've got between months and years left, really, and the majority of them are losing an awful lot of money and are barely struggling to keep afloat. And journalists are really struggling. You've got the majority now are either on benefits or are on minimum wage, if that. Just because newspapers and publishing in general, the print readership is down 54%. Advertising is down 63% on average across newspapers and publishing. So they're being squeezed on both ends. They've lost both of their revenue streams, and are pretty much close to collapse, and are taking on all sorts of mergers and cost-cutting measures. So, and newspapers have been looking at different methods of monetization, looked at the subscription model. Some have tried donations, but the subscription model really isn't working. You've got 7% of the UK are subscribing, but it's not getting any higher than that. And the thing with the subscription model for newspapers is you've only really got a small percentage of the UK are actually loyal to any newspaper, and that tends to be the 7% that are maybe the older generation who will die hard by the Independent or the Guardian or whatever for those views. But most people don't actually care where the content comes from, providing it's a well-written article, for example. People might want to read content, but don't have the loyalty to a particular newspaper. And it's not like before, when people used to buy a newspaper, you'd pay, I don't know how much they cost, 50p or £1.50 or whatever, to buy a newspaper. And then one would traditionally read that back to front and read what was interesting. But people just don't do that anymore. Attention spans have changed and reading habits have changed. You've now got the majority of content is read on mobile phones or tablets, as opposed to print or in any other format. So readership has totally changed. People buy articles or read articles ad hoc, but without wanting to subscribe to a newspaper. People might want to read one article from one publisher and another one from another one. So the subscription model really isn't working and isn't providing good revenue streams for newspapers at all, with some having already given that up. So it's a paper article platform. So it will be underpinned by blockchain, because that means we can get rid of transaction fees, get rid of forex fees, and bring the cost of an article
So you've
down.
micropayments.
Totally, yeah. So people will be able to upload in fiat.
Yeah.
So buying in fiat, which will convert to tokens, but pegged, so stable to the pound. So one token, 1p, totally stable. So it won't have any of the sort of crypto volatility that we've seen. It's purely that gets rid of the transaction fees and forex fees. And we can get articles down to 4p and still for that to be hugely profitable for newspapers and us with incentive models built in for.
And where do you get your content from?
From newspapers. That's the plan. So the guys in the team are fairly well connected with newspapers and with publishers, and also newspapers. I mean, the hope is that they'd give us content, because then they'd earn revenue streams from that. But wow. The feedback we've been getting from conversations has been overwhelmingly good.
Excellent. That's amazing. So now the reason why you're on the EOS podcast is A, I'm talking to you, sure. And B, because you met Dan the man.
Yes.
Where did you meet Dan the man?
That was I forgot the name of it, but it was one of the, or maybe the biggest blockchain conference or summit or whatever the name was in London. Back in, it was probably in October last year.
Oh, so recently, so famous, and so it wasn't like back in 2014 or
no, it was at the tail end of last year, and I believe EOS had sponsored the conference, or at least there was a lot of the branding around it, and they had this large sort of area in the conference, and there was a lot of platforms or companies that were obviously building on EOS, and I was just chatting to one of those companies. So it was a gaming company that had built on the EOS blockchain, and I was just chatting away to them. And then Dan just waltzes up and starts questioning them. And I remember there was two guys that I was chatting to from the gaming thing, and one of them obviously knew exactly who Dan was and was being super, super helpful and diverting all his attention to him. And then the other guy clearly had no idea whatsoever it was. And so, yeah, I just listened in and just had a little chat afterwards. So yeah, and it was cool. He was obviously going around all the companies that were using the EOS blockchain and just getting their feedback about how it was. And yeah.
And so tell me, as a person who is very much involved with blockchain, who's doing the simplification, who's very active in this area, what's your impression of the EOS community and the EOS, first of all, of the EOS technology, and then of the EOS community? Do you have any impressions?
Well, I'm very curious as to where it will go, to be honest, because obviously a lot of money was raised. So, I mean, there's a few things I'm curious about. So I've been following the fate of Ethereum, I suppose, and I guess one of my suppositions is that, well, EOS raised a lot of it. So what will be done with that? With it? Could it be used to dump and smash down Ethereum? And will they play that tactic, or will the money raised be used to effectively buy every company to build on the EOS blockchain to make it be the dominant one by virtue? So I'm very curious as to where it goes. And I mean, it's a question we're looking at the moment. So for Operated, we're looking at blockchain, and my personal preference, to be honest, is IBM.
Right. Hyperledger.
Sorry?
Hyperledger.
Right, yeah. I'm for various reasons. I like the flexibility. I like that it's private. I like that it's IBM, and the target market for us is not the blockchain community per se so much as mainstream. So I feel that'll lend a bit of credibility. So yeah, we're really looking at the IBM, and I think that's the route we're going to go down. But EOS was a consideration, and I mean, I'm still open to be bribed by EOS, to be honest.
Okay, I think we should do an introduction or so after this call.
Well, I'm totally willing to be bribed, and I mean, ultimately, we need to raise I think it'll be about $3 million. Yeah, it will be $3 million to build out, and so yeah, if EOS can sufficiently bribe us, I'm very willing to look at that, and I'm certainly willing to explore it in more depth.
Okay, well, I have friends in high places. I shall make some calls after this podcast.
Okay, that would be good.
Okay, well, so thank you so much, Eric. I know it's a bit of an unusual one for the EOS podcast of someone outside the industry, but it's interesting if you're based in London. Oh, by the way, your Crypto Curry lunches, they're not just in London now, are they?
No, they're not just in London. And yeah, it's all people who've been to the London ones and asked for them to be brought out to other cities. So there's now, I think Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, Bristol, Bath, Oxford, there's one starting. I've been asked to bring them to Cambridge and Cardiff, so I haven't done anything about that yet. But there's a number of them around the country with willing people in those cities who are in the blockchain community helping out to run them locally. So yeah, the curry is growing, and
growing. Wow.
We're having a few other events in London soon, just because it's really fun and we're meeting really, really amazing people.
I think I need to bring the curry club to Dublin, I think.
Totally, yeah.
So. Okay, well, so thank you so much for your time, Erica. Again, it was brilliant chatting with you, and I was amazed. So it's Erica Stanford, the founder of Crypto Curry Club, co-founder of cryptocurrencysimplified.com and authorrated.com as well. Yay! Thank you so much, Erica.
No, thank you so much. Cheers, Jan. Thank you. Good to see you.